It sometimes feels like members of Donald Trump's circle start the day asking, how can I stir things up? Today, Kash Patel did just that, making a comment that undercut Trump's narrative about his influence in Washington, D.C. We'll get into the details, but first, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps. This comes shortly after Senator J.D. Vance reignited discussion around the Jeffrey Epstein case, recently examined by journalist Nicole Wallace.
The East. Now, just as a general rule of thumb, if you were trying to convince the public that there's nothing to see here, nothing at all, it's a very good idea to get your story straight. Not that Donald Trump has ever been particularly consistent on the matter of Jeffrey Epstein, but today, yet another whiplash moment in the Trump administration having to do with what exactly the American people are being asked to believe. For starters, just so it's top of mind, recall the way Donald Trump himself spoke of the controversy not even 1 month ago.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
Your Truth Social this morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now calling?
I lost a lot of faith in certain people, yeah. I lost, because they got duped by the Democrats.
Stupid Republicans. That's what Donald Trump called some of his most fervent supporters. That's who really wants answers on the Epstein conspiracy. And again, those are his words, not ours, about who bought into the conspiracy theories about Epstein. Remember that when you hear what J.D. Vance has to say about this very same controversy.
I laugh at the Democrats who are now all of a sudden so interested in the Epstein files. For 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats did absolutely nothing about this story. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of connections with left-wing politicians and left-wing billionaires. And now President Trump has demanded full transparency from this. And yet somehow the Democrats are attacking him and not the Biden administration, which did nothing for 4 years.
I laugh at the Democrats. For some reason, I don't picture him like really laughing ever at anything. Can you imagine the sound of J.D. Vance belly laughing? Me neither. All right, back to Epstein. For those of you keeping score at home, 1 month ago, the Epstein controversy, according to Donald Trump, was a complete hoax perpetrated by the Democrats. Today, though, the Democrats are apparently engaged in a cover-up to obscure the truth about the real scandal. Even though, again, there is no scandal, it's a hoax. If you're confused, don't worry, it's not you, it's them. In reality, the Trump administration's ongoing responses.
You'd think some of Donald Trump's allies might help him more by simply staying quiet. But that doesn't seem possible for them. When so many conflicting statements are made, it becomes almost impossible to keep a story straight. This failed attempt at controlling the narrative has only pushed journalists to dig deeper into the Jeffrey Epstein controversy. The problem is, Trump himself doesn't appear sure which version of the story to stick with. And neither do J.D. Vance, Pam Bandy, or Kash Patel. In fact, Patel's recent remarks directly undercut one of Trump's key claims, and as we'll see, it immediately backfired.
Sir, thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues, and I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast, but we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety.
So Donald Trump wants you to think that D.C. is practically falling apart, that it is the worst city in America. I live in D.C. That's not the case. I also lived in New York. That's not the case. Really, the only crime taking place of any real measure or note in this town kind of happens in the center and this gated off home. It's the White House, where Donald Trump obviously is committing all the crime. But that's what he wants you to think. It's a hellhole. But that's not what Kash Patel thinks or said in front of Donald Trump when he directly contradicted him and blew up his narrative, letting the truth slip. Kash Patel accidentally tells the truth to Trump about DC crime wave. FBI Director Kash Patel admits that the murder rate in America is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, undercutting Donald Trump's description of major cities as crime-riddled hellscapes. The president on Monday unveiled plans to deploy the National Guard and take over the Metropolitan Police in order to rescue Washington, D.C. from what he said was the existence of crime, bloodshed, beat'em, and squalor. The move came despite the fact that violent crime offenses across all major categories are falling in the nation's capital, raising questions about the president's true motives for the crackdown, which he said would serve as a model for other cities. In the middle of his hour-long press conference, Trump's own FBI director also partly contradicted Trump's claim by boasting to reporters that murder rates are plummeting. We are now reporting that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history and modern recorded history thanks to this team behind me and Donald Trump's priorities, Patel said. But Trump insisted he would liberate D.C., telling reporters, "You want to be able to leave your apartment or house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something, and you don't have that now." The murder rate in D.C. today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City. Some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth. Much higher. Trump's press conference took place after a photo surfaced last week of a former federal DOJ staffer, Big Balls, who was violently bashed as part of an unarmed carjacking. Kash Patel admitted crime in D.C. is dropping. And Trump is using that to frame the city as a model for others. This isn't just a distraction from other headlines. It's about setting a precedent. Send in the National Guard, claim credit, and repeat in cities like New York or Baltimore. With crime already falling, this narrative could be used during unrest, even around elections, raising concerns about bigger moves ahead, as Jasmine Crockett warned.
Jasmine Crockett of Texas. And Congresswoman, just to remind our viewers, you were a member of the Texas State House back in 2021. You're in the U.S. House now, but you were a state legislator, and you were part of the crew that fled the state in an attempt to block voting restrictions in Texas. What do you make of Governor Abbott's argument that that is not what Texans do? It's gutless, it's cut and run, you're fleeing like chickens. You need to show up to do your job the way most Texans do, et cetera. What's your response?
The only weakling in this equation is the governor himself. It's not Texans that elected the governor to the governor's mansion that asked him to do this. It is the criminal that is currently serving in the White House that begs for him to do this. So let me tell you something. I can guarantee you that Gene Wu's district has not called in and said that he is not representing them or their voices. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I know that my governor may not have practiced law too recently, but I would like to inform him, if he cares to know, that our Texas Constitution specifically provides for being able to break quorum. That is in our Constitution. So as far as I'm concerned, these folk that decided that they were going to break quorum are more Texan and more American than the governor and the president himself.
There is some critical items on the special session agenda: flood relief for Texas Hill Country, where more than 100 people died over the 4th of July weekend. What's your response to those Republicans who are blaming Democrats for holding up this relief by not showing up and allowing a quorum?
Yeah, so first of all, those Republicans should show up and do their job every single day. They're the ones that knew that this area had flooded before, yet there were not provisions in place. In fact, one of the representatives for that area voted against a bill that would have allowed for additional monies for infrastructure in that area. The local electeds in that area decided to reject money from the Biden-Harris campaign. I can tell you one thing about Democrats is that we show up for everybody. Once we are elected, then we understand what it is to govern, and we don't pick winners and losers based upon your political affiliation. Unfortunately, the local electeds failed those people, and unfortunately, their state electeds failed those people. But I will also say that it wasn't flood relief that they brought to the floor quickly. It was absolutely focused on bringing together a bill that would decimate people's voices, Black and brown voices, which make up a majority of the state. That is what they decided to do. They had an opportunity. They did not force forward with a bill on flood relief. Instead, what they pushed forward with was redistricting at the will of the Attorney General, who said this was about race, and Donald Trump.
The Economist magazine, looking at this gerrymandering arms race that appears to be on the brink of breaking out, in the sense that if Texas does it, the Democrats in California and other states say they're going to do it. The Economist says Democrats are likely to lose the redistricting war. If both sides abandon principle, a draw is possible, but Republicans face fewer obstacles. Is this gerrymandering arms race really worth it if Democrats still are going to end up on the losing side of the numbers? Governor Abbott said to me today that if California adds 5 Democratic seats to offset the 5 Republican seats that might come from this redistricting, he'll just add 5 more Republican seats. He said it will be 10.
Yeah, so here's my attitude. We may lose the battle, but we will absolutely win this war. That is what I'm saying. Right now, when it comes to our base, they want to see a fight. They don't want to see us just lay down and say, okay, well, the Republicans want to do whatever they want to do. They want to minimize voices. They want to systemically get rid of those Black electeds, because when I look at the numbers, and to be clear, Florida is already in this thing. We know that Texas is in this thing. We know that they're putting pressure on Indiana as well as Missouri. So here's the deal. They have already decided that the only way that they can win, because they have failed policies, is by making sure that they can cheat their way. And while they're cheating their way, the only way that they can do that is while they also at the same time violate the Constitution as well as the Voting Rights Act, and make sure that it's people of color. We're talking about them going after Clyburn in South Carolina. We're talking about them going after Andre Carson in Indiana. We're talking about them going after Reverend Cleaver in Missouri. We're talking about them going after Amelia Sykes in Ohio. We're talking about them coming for 3 of the 4 Black representatives that we currently have in the state of Texas. So don't tell me this isn't about race when they are clear about who it is that will lose the most when it comes to having their say-so on the federal level. They are absolutely systemically making sure that they roll back all that was fought for, bled for, and died for as relates to those that came before us.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Texas, thank you.
This isn't a theory. It's happening right now, in plain sight. Trump openly said, "Find me 5 more seats." And the effort isn't stopping in Texas. It's moving to Florida, Ohio, Indiana, and has already hit North Carolina. Gavin Newsom's advice to Democratic governors: don't just respond, act first. Take the initiative, go on the offensive, and don't wait. This is the moment to step up, and if you agree, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.